Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. Thanks for joining us for Access City Council. I'm your host, David Riggleman, Communications Director for the City of Las Vegas. Coming up on this show, the medical district continues to grow as the UNLV Medical School building breaks ground. And we tell you about free and low-cost dental services offered within the medical district. Of course, the councilman who represents Ward 1 is Brian Knudsen. He joins me now. Welcome and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
How are you doing?
Thanks for having me here.
It's good to see you. We are doing this show socially distanced like everything else this year, but hey, you know, we're getting it done, and it's still, it's different, but you know, we're still managing.
Yeah.
We're all doing
Lots of things to focus on. I don't focus on the bad things.
Exactly. I know, and I try not to as well. Councilman, you know Ward 1 very, very well. It's your neck of the woods. It's the ward that you represent here in the city of Las Vegas. For everyone out there, if you're trying to locate Ward 1 in your mind, well, we're going to show you on the map. It's basically the area just west of our downtown area. It's where Las Vegas started. The Springs Preserve is over in that area. And it kind of follows US 95 along the south, and then turning north. If you live in that area or work in that area, then you are in the city limits of the city of Las Vegas. And of course, if you are a resident, you are represented by Brian Knudsen on the city council for about 1.5 years now. It goes by quick, doesn't it?
Very, very, very fast, yes.
It does. It does. Well, Councilman, we're in the holiday season here. A wonderful tradition that you've had in Ward 1 is remembering the seniors at the senior living facilities. We have quite a few in Ward 1. Mm-hmm. We had one that you visited at Stella Fleming back on December 9th. Had to do it differently. Usually there's a big dinner where everybody gathers and gifts are exchanged, and it's pretty cool. But this year, because of COVID, like everything else, it's done differently. And tell everybody how you guys kind of handled the change this time around.
So I should say Lois Tarkanian actually started the tradition of providing a Thanksgiving dinner and a Christmas dinner at all the facilities. So there's several of them right off of Decatur and Alta, right around there. There's several. Yeah. And so I was happy to continue in it. In the past year, my mom would come with me because generally people like my mom a lot more than they like me, and I like to meet them where they are. But this year was a little bit different. Obviously, we couldn't have large gatherings. And so this year we invited Senator Brooks and Assemblywoman Rochelle Nguyen because we wanted to really demonstrate that all of these elected officials are working together in their best interests. And so Christy Garnis with the City of Las Vegas boxed up all their lunches. We did random raffle prizes for door numbers, and then we went knocking on the doors and gave them a lunch, and if they won a raffle prize. So it's a great experience. We still have 3 more senior centers to do over this next week. It's really a connecting point for me to kind of listen and learn about their years of experience, and most of them have been engaged in Vegas for a very, very long time and helped build what Las Vegas is. So it's my opportunity to learn about how to be a better elected official, how to be a better person in general, how to be a better parent. But what I talked about on Facebook is true. Those folks in particular are socially isolated, unlike anybody else. And so if the viewers watching have an opportunity to make a phone call, to make a card, it's a right time to do it. It's the right time. It's holiday season, and we want everyone to know that they're appreciated, loved, respected, admired, because the folks in these homes built Las Vegas. They really did. And it's our turn to give back. And so that's what I would encourage everybody to do is find someone who's socially isolated and make sure they know that they are not alone.
Yeah, we've talked about that, Councilman. That's a very vulnerable population to COVID-19. So the remedy in these facilities is that these folks are really isolated. They stay in their rooms as much as possible. Meals are delivered to them individually, and while that's keeping them safe, it just isolates them. It's just so foreign to what they're usually able to do, interact with one another, see each other for outings, games, whatever it might be.
And it's the little things in life, so don't think that it has to be something massive.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be delivering meals to 150 seniors that I get the fortunate opportunity to do that, but if you can create a card and send it to a random stranger to say, you know, someone's thinking about you, I think it matters. I think it really matters, especially to that population.
Yeah, so well said and so true. So glad that they're still on the top of mind for everyone. Councilman, this is huge news since you were on last time. End of October, we just missed this from the last time you were on Access City Council, but we broke ground at the UNLV Medical School, the site of the new medical school building here in Las Vegas. Again, like everything else this year, folks, it was primarily done virtually. You were there in person, but the rest of us were watching. A few of you turned the that was it. This was the group that was there. Normally, of course, there had been a huge crowd out there. But again, it's 2020, everybody, and so they had to do it this way. Nonetheless, the fact that the project is moving forward is huge for Las Vegas and for the medical district located right in the heart of Ward 1.
And for Southern Nevada and for the state of Nevada, it's incredibly important. And so that was my first shovel thing that I've got to do as elected official. So
really?
I don't take it for granted. It was fun
good.
to turn some dirt around with a bunch of people, socially distanced. But it's a really important thing for our medical community. It's a really important thing for Nevada. And so I'm fortunate that I get to come in at this point in time to say, move quickly ahead, because we need a medical school up and running. We need doctors that are being produced on a regular basis. Their next graduation, their first graduation is next year, which is really very exciting.
Yeah, it's gone by fast.
And then in 2.5 years, we'll have a brand new building that'll set the tone for what that area is going to look like. And if you drive by there, you should drive by, because you'll see tractors and dump trucks and a whole bunch of construction activity going on, which is a really important sign for our entire economy.
Yeah. That medical school building, folks, is located on Shadow Lane. It's where the old health district building was, basically across from Valley Hospital.
Yep.
And that is going to be the site of the new medical school. And it's coming out of the ground. It was exciting, Councilman. I thought they did a very good job, considering that they couldn't have a lot of people there. It was done virtually, and it was still exciting, even watching it on my computer in my office. The fact that that's a huge milestone, that this building now is coming up out of the ground, literally, and that we're going to have this new facility. It's going to change the whole face of medicine in Las Vegas going forward.
And those watching, it's really important to know that it's not just a regular building. It requires quite a bit of collaboration on the public and private sector, and that just doesn't happen. So it's the county's land inside the city of Las Vegas with private funders that are building it for the university. That's a lot to pull together, a lot of people, a lot of personalities. Shovels went in the ground, and we'll have a building in 2.5 years, and we'll have doctors being produced, and we will survive.
Yeah, absolutely. And the medical district takes a huge step forward. Speaking of the medical district, you posted this on Facebook. You said COVID-19 has forced many hardworking people in Las Vegas and Southern Nevada to seek low-cost or free dental services for themselves and their families. And the UNLV School of Dental Medicine's Saturday morning community clinics offer that needed option. And this is really cool, because if you're having trouble affording the dentist right now, hey, UNLV's got an answer for you, as Councilman said.
And it's great care. I bring my kids there. They're really exceptional. There's a dentist there, and I wish I knew her name. She's from Texas. She came here to get training at the UNLV School of Dental Medicine. She's a mother of 4, and she travels back and forth on the weekends to see her children. She came here because the training is that good. So she's my kid's dentist, and for anybody who needs dental care, that's the great place to go. If you can pay for it, great. If you can't, that's why we're talking about it, because if you can't, it's something that we need to have. And so for everybody has a different need and interest and want. So for those who can write cards for seniors, you should do that. If you have the financial means to donate to a charity, pick a charity of your choice. The School of Dental Medicine is out there. There's lots of ways to give it back in our community, and this is a fantastic opportunity that helps so many people. And
we should say, too, that students that work on you are the students that are toward the end of their training. They're not going to just throw a first-year kid in there, young dental student in there. They are obviously going to train you up before they turn you loose on patients.
The lady that serves my kids, the dentist, the fantastic dentist, has been a dentist for like 10 years, and she's transitioning to pediatric as a specialty. So she's 4 years into her residency. So she's a great dentist.
Yeah.
And so we finally got Kate off of sucking her thumb, that's all the dentist tricks that did that.
I got to talk to you. How do you do that? What is the secret to
just
tough. Say don't?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah. So.
Children are way harder than adults.
I think, folks, that's for parents that have dealt with that out there. This is an important discussion.
Yeah, call me if you need advice on how to not suck your thumb.
We'll give you the councilman's contact information before the end of the show. And Councilman, speaking of medical issues, I think that you're obviously very involved in the medical district because it's in your ward. You were also on the selection committee for the first classes of students at the UNLV Medical School. You're also on the Southern Nevada Health District Board, and that's one of the hats that you wear as being a councilman. And so you've had an active role in helping our infectious disease doctors connect recently. That's been, obviously, those guys are at the forefront right now through COVID-19.
Correct.
And you're helping them connect and network better in Las Vegas than previously?
So this is the brainchild of Dr. Luis Medina Garcia, who's been on Channel 2 talking about what the pandemic is. I just filmed a video clip with him talking about what to expect with the vaccines. He made a very real observation that our infectious disease society is not as connected as maybe we would want it to be at this time. And so we're working with him on bringing together the Southern Nevada Infectious Disease Society, which will be practicing physicians and pharmacists and other professionals in the infectious disease world in Southern Nevada, bringing them together to talk about collaborations, to talk about difficult cases, to talk about coronavirus, to talk about research, to bring some recognition to how great our physicians are in Southern Nevada. We don't have enough of them. But the ones that we do have are really great. We want to provide them space and opportunity to connect and talk about how we can make Southern Nevada even better, put us on the map for tackling some of these really tough issues.
We talk about having a timely field of study, a timely specialty in medicine. Infectious disease, those guys were front and center, everybody looking to them for the answers. And I think overall they've done an amazing job communicating to the public about what we should or shouldn't be doing and how we're progressing with combating the virus. So they've been very, very important, needless to say, through all of this.
And what I tell people, I try to be as transparent as possible. I think I'm pretty real because I don't have much of a filter. But I'll say this in a very real way. I don't participate in all the stuff that goes on Facebook and Twitter and social media and all the politics associated with coronavirus. I go right to the source to figure out what real information is. And so the UMC and the Health District have been great sources of information. And I'm lucky and I'm privileged that I can go right to the source and say what is real and what is not real. And I tried my best to make sure that information is available to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things, Councilman, you and I have talked about this, in addition to social distancing, is when you're out, wear your mask. It's going to make a difference. All the infectious disease doctors tell you, and will tell you, wearing that mask is going to make a difference. It'll help slow the spread of the virus.
Yes.
I think we've realized it's more through the aerosol from our breath than from touching surfaces and things like that. It can spread that way, but it's mostly our contact with one another. And so wearing that mask, separating from other people, it's going to be for your own protection and theirs as well. So
yeah, and if you have a chance to go onto my Facebook page to look at the questions we asked about the vaccine, because there's a lot of information out there, some of it is not real. Don't trust everything you read. And so having a doctor who's going to be responsible for a lot of the care people get here, it's right from the horse's mouth to know what you can expect from the vaccine coming up.
That's great advice, Councilman. There's a lot of misinformation out there. People are afraid of the vaccine. It's funny because we've gone all these months where we've been praying for the vaccine to get here. Now it's arriving, and people are saying, well, I'm afraid to take it. So the infectious disease community, if you want to get the straight line, hear what they have to say, because they really, really have some great information on the safety of the various vaccines that have been produced. So.
And one of the most important questions I asked, it's the first question that was on my mind, and I'm sure is on the mind of any parent out there, is should I get my kids vaccinated? And I hadn't seen that, I hadn't read about it anywhere. The answer is no kids are being vaccinated because they haven't tested it on kids yet. So that's super helpful for me to know. So go right to the doctor and ask them.
Exactly. They're the ones that are plugged in. Exactly right. Well, Councilman, shifting gears here a little bit, you posted this on Facebook. You said, had a great time shopping by Las Vegas Meadows Senior Living, located in Ward 1 today. And we're back to the holiday here, and again, a little bit of cheer that we can bring to a year that really is needed. And speaking of COVID-19.
Yeah, maybe this isn't cheer, this is neighborhood watch signs. So crime is a little bit on the uptick, and porch pirates. The Meadows senior community is a really exceptional group of people. And for that community, we bring pie. So every year we bring pie. We'll do that a little differently this year. But just to make sure people are aware in that community, we got magnets to put on their cars so they can drive around, and signs that basically just make any of the bad guys aware that there's people who are watching.
Yeah.
So it's a fun neighborhood community right there on Valley View, and super engaged, which is great.
Not so much shopping, but stopping by.
I stopped by.
Stopped by. Very good. Very good. Okay, and those neighborhood watches really do make a difference. You get the neighbors together. It's the whole national night out where people originally would turn their porch light on to let any potential criminals in the area know that, hey, we're all banding together. And so those neighborhood watch programs really, really do work because there's that sense that everyone's looking out for one another.
And it's a good way to stay engaged. So
Sure is.
the people in the community are responsible for their community. So they take ownership and pride in it. And if they have the time and energy, they can slap a magnet on their car and drive around and look for bad guys and call the police if there's a bad guy.
Right.
But it's something that's theirs, and that's a really important consideration as we age to find as much that is ours that we can take care of.
Exactly. And Councilman, speaking of staying safe and the police department, you and the group from Metro did a shop with a cop here recently, right? On Craig Road?
That's right. The last 2 years I've participated with the Clark County School District, and all the jurisdictions participate. So it's a bunch of cops that go, and usually the kids are there, but this year we just got lists of stuff. And so there's a budget of about $150 per child, and we get a list of their wishes and wants, and then we go around and pick stuff up. And Christy Garnis from the City of Las Vegas and my team are going to wrap it up, and then we're going to go deliver it to a family, I think, of 5. So we got a bunch of stuff to give to them, and it's
all
another
the
fun
police
way.
agencies, right? It's our marshals, Metro, school district police, NHP. They're
Right.
all represented. Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that different this year, Councilman? Did they have you guys go into the store?
Usually we have the kids with us, so you walk around with a kid and
they kind of
pick
pick
stuff
yeah.
out. Yeah.
So this year you did it with the list, yeah.
Yes.
So again,
a little different. But we're still going to go drop them off at the house. I think this Friday we're going to go drop everything off at the house, and
won't make a hill of beans difference to the kids as long as
they'll
the
be
gifts
fine.
get there. They're good.
They'll be
exactly. Exactly right. And then, Councilman, you and some officers from the Spring Valley Command at Metro visited Area 15 recently as well, right?
That's right. So for those who aren't aware, it's right off of Rancho and Desert Inn. It's a gigantic building that says Area 15. Not a lot of people have been able to go because of COVID, but it's a super fun experience. And so if you log on to the website and get your tickets, they adhere to all the governor's directives. It's a super cool, fun space with an ice cream shop and a candy store. There's going to be some experiential art pieces there. So what I did was connect them with the Spring Valley Area Command Metropolitan Police Department to make sure that it's going to be a safe facility for everybody. It's a great area of town that is in need of some upkeep, and so we want to make sure the police are very much engaged. And that's me and my son in the picture there. And I was saying that's the coolest picture I've ever taken because I'm surrounded by a bunch of cops, and then my son looks like he likes me for a few minutes, and so it's a super cool picture.
Area 15. Councilman, tell everybody, if they have not really heard much about it, kind of give them a feel of what it is. They may have heard of Meow Wolf and some of the organizations that are involved in other cities, Santa Fe, New Mexico, example being one. But if people are not familiar with what goes on at Area 15, what they offer, fill them in a little bit.
So it's kind of like a mall with really cool lighting. There's a restaurant, there's a bar, there's going to be another restaurant that'll offer a rum tasting experience as well as a very, for me, I would say it's a fancy meal. And then they also have like an axe throwing room, so you can throw axes at a designed cutout. Right. Above you, there's a track, and you can get on a harness and go flying around the mall, essentially. And then outdoors, they have Winter Wonderland right now during the holiday season. It's these makeshift igloos with fire pits in the middle, and there's probably 30, 40 of them out there where you can have a socially distanced meal. And there's a bar off to the side, and they serve you food and alcohol if you choose. And then they're all watching holiday movies.
Really?
So it's this eclectic group of random things that's very hard to describe, but if you're there, it's super fun.
If you're on Interstate 15 between DI and Sahara,
yes,
it's going to be on the west side of the road there, and it used to be where Scandia was located,
correct,
right? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, back in the day. So you have to go check it out. When COVID's all over, it's going to just boom. So
yes, they're expecting more than 1 million people a year from around the country because of mostly because of Meow Wolf, but it's going to be a huge economic driver for the city of Las Vegas. So I'm very proud that it's in Ward 1, and I'll do everything I can to make sure it's successful.
I think a lot of the draw is very interactive, right, Councilman? That whatever they offer, the visitor gets to participate rather than just looking at it.
Correct.
And it's pretty cool.
Yes.
So looking forward to seeing it myself when things start to open up a little bit. And then, the Councilman, shifting gears here a little, you serve the city on the National League of Cities and on the Nevada League of Cities as well. One of the many things that you do, the council members don't just serve as council members. As in that capacity, they do a variety of other things, representing the city on a variety of other boards. And Councilman is also on the League of Cities for our city. Explain to folks what the League's function is and why it's so important to the future of our community.
True. So there's the Nevada League of Cities, which is a participating entity, and the National League of Cities. The basic premise is, from the Nevada side, is all of the local municipalities speaking with one voice to, say, the governor's office to talk about what are the individual needs, expectations, wants, desires at the local level. It's one voice as opposed to lots of voices. One voice, if you're in government world, is a lot easier to take in if it represents a larger group of people. So that's what the Nevada League is. The National League's kind of the same concept. Is there a variety of committees assigned to come up with policy ideas that they can present to the federal government to say this is how federal policy will affect local governments.
Right.
So there's conglomerates of small cities with like no more than 10,000 people, which is obviously very different than Las Vegas. There's medium-sized cities, there's large cities, and those groups of leaders come together and identify key policy ideas that should be communicated effectively to the federal government.
Those commonalities are obviously so important too, where cities are going to get together and say, well, this is good in part, but these are some of the concerns we might have, and to have that voice heard by those passing the laws either at the state or federal level. It's really important, because if they don't hear that feedback or don't have that direction sometimes, then you get bad legislation.
Correct.
So,
and it's important for people who are really skeptical of government, which I understand. You don't want too much bureaucracy, but being in a government position, if you have 100 people come to you, their messages are all over the place. And it's very hard to figure out how to meet the needs of 100 people. If one person comes to you and represents 100 people, it's much easier to figure out how to negotiate, how to compromise, how to work towards the best solution for everybody.
Very good. Councilman, you guys meet how often? Is it annually, semi-annually?
There's conferences once a year where the committees identify key policy ideas to push. And then the Nevada League meets, I think, every 2 months now, virtually for the last 6 months or so. And they've been really key on working with the governor's office and the equivalent county association on working with the governor's office on key issues that could affect cities and counties.
And your colleague, Councilman Creer, is the vice president.
Congratulations to Councilman Creer. He's on the chain of command there.
And he'll be the president in the next term. So
that's true.
I see great things for you as well. So I'm sure they're going to be grooming you to do the exact same thing. So, and then Councilman, it's hard to believe because we're into the holidays, but since you've been on the show last, we had Halloween, believe it or not. You posted this on Facebook. You said Team Knudsen had a great time joining Ward 1 residents for a Halloween creature feature event. And there's some photos from the event that day. It seems like a lifetime ago to talk about Halloween, but this was right at the end of October, of course. And again, socially distanced for the movie out there, but hey, we've made do this year.
That was a super fun night. So I started that day with Bolden Area Command, which is another Metropolitan Police Department command. And we started out in Ward 3 and went to Ward 5 in a chain of about 150 cop cars and fire trucks and ambulances. And we stopped at key points along the path to hand out candy to kids and their families. And so we started out in Ward 3 and Ward 5, and then they ended up right there at the Mirabelli Community Center where we were doing a movie. We had to stop the movie, which didn't make some people happy. We stopped the movie and gave out lots of candy to lots of children. And there was police cars and fire trucks and policemen and firemen running up and down handing out candy. So it was a super, super fun day.
Who were the gentlemen we saw getting the proclamation there, the certificate from you?
So Paul Casey Entertainment brought the individual, I just forgot his name, Charlie something. Excuse me, but Paul Casey brought him because he was Michael Myers in the original Halloween
that's
movie.
Right. That's exactly right.
And so Paul Casey, I've done a couple of things with him now. He really cares about this community. I just did another celebration of 40 years after John Lennon's death at the Abbey Road crossing on Fremont Street.
I saw that you were out there, right?
So Paul Casey is constantly trying to infuse imagination into our community.
Yeah, he does a good job.
Yeah, so I was really grateful that he and his son George were there.
Yeah. You know, Councilman, events like that creature feature, what you were talking about, traveling around, really kind of saved Halloween because so many parents weren't going to take their kids trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
So many people weren't going to give out candy this year because of COVID. So that was a way of still getting the kids that flavor of Halloween, but not go door to door and do it like we traditionally do. So those events, you know, parents were so appreciative of because there wasn't going to be a lot of trick-or-treating going on this time around. So
I think it's important. It's not the candy so much as the experience for children. And
put your costume on. And
all we are is a summary of all of our memories put together. So
right.
You got to create as many fun memories as you possibly can.
Absolutely. It's so well said. Well, Councilman, we are getting to the end of the show. It's hard to believe. It goes by fast, but hey, we want to always hear from you if you've got something to say. So if you have something to share with Councilman Knudsen, here's how you reach him. You can find him on Facebook and Twitter. He's very active. You can also contact him just by picking up the phone, 702-229-6405, or you can send him an email. His address is bknudsen@lasvegasnevada.gov, and here one of his great staff will get right back to you. They always do. So especially if you want to find out how to keep that child from sucking their thumb.
Yes.
He knows
I have the tips now.
He knows the answer on that. So, well, Councilman, happy holidays to you. Happy New Year's. Is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers out there? This is your chance to say happy holidays, wish them a happy new year, and goodbye 2020. I'm glad to see you go.
See you later 2020. Happy holidays, happy new year. If you have the opportunity to give back to somebody in need, now is the time to do it. If you've been waiting and trying to figure out what to do, don't wait any longer. Pick up a phone, write a card, doesn't have to be money. It's those experiences. Create positive experiences for everyone in your path. The world will be a better place. So I appreciate the opportunity to say that, and I will continue to say that.
All right. Thank you so much, Councilman. Well, listen, the very best to you in 2020. Always a pleasure doing this program with you. So, folks, you can always catch all of our KCLV shows on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget, you can watch us live on the internet at kclv.tv. We want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Access City Council. We'll see you next time around. Happy holidays and happy 2021, everyone. We'll see you then.